Welcome to another episode of Voices. My name is Augustine Ambe, and you are?
Rogers Akembo.
This week, we have a lineup which I would like to give you heads up on some of what we'll be talking about. Obviously, there's more writing going on and more talk on what's going on in Switzerland. We're going to touch on some of them. We also touched on Biya returning to La République after being kicked out of Switzerland. We will talk about the next stage of Honorable Biya, or what comes next after his great presentation in London last week or 2 weeks ago. We also want to spend some time and talk about how the international community is treating our struggle. We're going to touch a little bit also on the visit of the Congressional Black Caucus to La République du Cameroon, and any other thing that arises in between. So, Roger, I want us to start the some of what is still coming out from Switzerland. I think there was a show. I don't know if you've listened to that show. There's a show. There was a presentation. In fact, the entire show of Ambazonia calling dealt with what is happening in Switzerland. And did you spend some time listening to it?
Yes, I did. Hello, televiewers, good people of Ambazonia. It is nice to be here out and having this conversation with you again. And I did listen to Ambazonia calling. They are one of those organizations that are out to educate and inform our people on what is happening on the revolution.
Yes.
And I think it was just appropriate for them to focus on what is happening in Switzerland.
Yes.
Because it is something that is important to the revolution.
Yes.
And our people need to understand exactly what is happening.
Or how they see it.
Or how they see it.
Exactly. Yes. The reason why I say how they see it is because, when Ambazonia calling started,
mm-hmm.
I watched a few episodes and I actually did enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, I don't know if you feel the same, I started feeling that the show was not really an information show, but a very partisan show. I don't know, because of what they cover, the way they cover it, and some of the news items they would like to cover, which only they cover. And if you know them historically, you will see that it aligns with who they've always been in terms of being Moorisk. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just had to say that.
Well, I would not sit here and say I have listened to every episode that they have produced, but all what I'm going to say is that I think every organization that goes out there and tries to educate our people, we should try to do that and do our best to give the people the most valuable information.
Yes.
Like what we try to do here is to give the people a big picture. If there is something wrong, we are going to say it as it is. So we don't sugarcoat or try to take sides, or we don't have any sacred cows, as we've said on this show. So they might be guilty of that. I don't know. I have not watched or listened to a lot of their shows, but I just commend them to keep. And what you said is important, because if they are people that listen and want to do the best for the revolution, then they will take your feedback into consideration.
Yes. The other thing I want to say is that I watched a show on C-SPAN,
mm-hmm.
which says that when any news organization gets news, they have an editorial opinion
mm-hmm.
about the issues. Mm-hmm. And so their news may be slanted in that direction. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when you do it, I think when you for example, Fox News is accused of being a conservative, right-wing, Republican news channel because they overly do that. Because one of the things you can do is state the news as it happens and then obviously give an opinion, which is what we really try to do. I think what we try to do is we state the facts as they happen, and then we make our commentaries. And when we make our commentaries, because our audience is mostly Ambazonians or people who are interested in Ambazonia, we try to give a perspective that addresses that answers some of the questions that Ambazonians may be asking in terms of the facts that were stated, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know that some people too accuse us of what you are currently talking about Ambazonia calling. There are people who have accused us of being tribalistic.
No, but that's false.
Well,
it is something that they take.
Yes.
What I'm saying is something that Ambazonia calling gives us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When Ambazonia calling goes out of his way to give fringe news about some fringe groups in our struggle, you can see that they're trying to promote that group, not because you know what I'm saying. And I find it a little not serving their purpose or what they're trying to accomplish. And I think that they have a role to play in our struggle. So when they do that, I'm calling that out so that when you give a piece of news and then go and say what some middleman somewhere is saying about it, without saying what other groups are saying.
In a much publicized outing Saturday, Dr. Ayaba went after the Swiss-led process, questioning the motives and qualifications of the Swiss
or keep pushing Morris. I hear Morris all the time. I don't know if there's any Morris organization there with members and some agenda. I heard some people say Morris is in the ashes, but I still hear them keep saying it, Just treat Ambazonia calling as a different organization from Morris and give the news as is. I felt like I should say that, since we're going to be dealing with the piece that they spend a lot of time in. I mean, they spend the whole hour on the Swiss deal, and they spend that hour on the defensive. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And because they spent it on the defensive, I wondered why. But then you can see that there is a reason to come out and defend it, partly because some of the members of Ambazonia calling are from the SCLC.
I have been wondering how we could tell the people of Ambazonia what exactly is going on within the framework of the Swiss-led process for a negotiated settlement in Ambazonia. And the analogy that I would like to use here will be the one of a football match, a soccer match. What has happened with Switzerland is that the announcement has been made that Ambazonia will play against La République du Cameroun in a match that will be umpired by Switzerland, and whose match commissioners will be the European Union, the United States, the United Kingdom, the United Nations, and other powers that are going to still be joining this major initiative. When they tell you that a football match is going to play, it doesn't mean that the match is on. It doesn't mean that the venue of the match has been picked. It doesn't mean that the date of the match has been picked. When you agree that you have to play that match to determine who wins and therefore who owns Ambazonia really, then you go back, you select your team.
So Mr. Bo Herbert says that the Swiss deal, he gave an analogy that the Swiss deal is a football match between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroun and France. Because when you say La République du Cameroun, you have to add France to it. He says that the referee is Switzerland, the match commissioners are EU, USA, UK, UN, and some other powers that will come in. And that the match is not on yet, the venue of the match has not been picked, and the date has not been picked either. So he says Ambazonians will have to play this match to determine who wins and therefore own Ambazonia. So what do you think about that? Is it a match? Is it a football match? Is the Ambazonian thing a football match between Ambazonia and La République? Is that a good analogy?
Well, it can be a good analogy if you just use it right. The problem is that he says that a match has been called or a match has been scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
When you get an announcement that a match has been scheduled, you don't go to the venue of the match. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You sit down, as he says in the piece, and because what they did was they left and went to the venue of the match. If he claims that the match is not on yet,
Okay, let me say this. Okay, he wrote a very long piece. We may come to that. Let's handle it piece by piece. Is the football a good analogy? And the UN and the UA and the USA, are they commissioners? Are you with?
that's what I'm saying, that the analogy can be good
Okay.
if you use it properly. Yes, a match has been called
Okay.
because there is a dispute between La République and also, if you say, okay, there are two teams, there's Team La République and there is us, so we have to meet somewhere to duck it out, right?
Yes.
So it can be like a match. So
All right.
that is the analogy.
All right.
But the problem is, how do you, when you want to look at that analogy that he's using, it doesn't work. Because when a match is called, each team goes and prepares its players or its team. But what they did was, as going with that analogy, let's assume that there was a match that was called or that was scheduled. What they did was they took off and went to the match venue already.
No, he says that the match venue has not been picked
That
yet.
is what he says. But we are looking at their action.
Okay, I think you should add that we also have independent information, because this is not some secret thing.
No, I don't have to add it. It is out there for the people to see it. I am not basing my analysis on what he wrote or what he says. I am basing it on the actions that they took, because they left and went to Switzerland for the match. You cannot come back now and then try to use analysis and say the match has just been called and people have to go and prepare to go for the day of the match and all that kind of stuff.
Roger, the reason why I wanted you to let's follow what he's saying. He says Switzerland is a referee.
I am not there yet. I am just looking.
I know. You're saying they went to the match venue, but the man is saying that the venue of the match has not been picked.
So
going to Switzerland was not. He's saying that Switzerland is not the match venue because he says it's not picked. But I'm saying, but he himself has decided that Switzerland is the referee, and I'm saying now when they call a match, does another team pack to go and meet the referee in the town where the referee is living?
That is that's why I'm saying that it is a good analogy, but how you use it and their actions, it makes it contradictory.
No, I agree with you.
Yes.
But I want you to say they only went to meet the referee. Don't make that venue become, because he's saying that that's not the venue yet.
I don't know, because those people have said they are the mediators.
Okay.
That's why
I wanted to talk about independent information, because Switzerland has said they are the mediators. And I don't think Switzerland is going to say, okay, we'll meet you in the United States or we'll meet you in the UK. Are they going to say that?
No. So, and then the other thing is that you were talking about the referee and other match commissioners, right?
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned the United Nations, the United States, the EU, and we don't know where those people have said they are commissioners in this match.
I don't know that either.
So these are things, as you said, that they are trying to defend some of the things that they are saying. So he wants to bring this analogy to try to educate people on
Yes.
but it falls short.
Yes.
It falls very, very short, because it doesn't achieve with what we are just questioning.
Yes. So whenever there's a match, I think at this point, what I would like to say is that whenever there's a match, you don't take your team. Actually, he does not believe that what the people went there as a team yet. But you don't go and meet the referee. What are you going to meet the referee with? Are you going to go bribe the referee, or why are you going to meet the referee? You meet the referee at the soccer pitch. So that's the first thing. So you think it's a good analogy? Here's what I said, and I said, I made notes. I said no. According to La République and France, that is not what the outcome of Switzerland will determine. He said that the outcome of Switzerland will determine who owns Ambazonia.
No, it's not possible.
I say it's not going to determine that, because before that, and I wanted to establish that Switzerland has been written out widely, so we know what the conversation between La République and the Swiss ambassador was, what the conditions that La République gave the Swiss was. He told them, well, because what the Swiss did is they came and said, you know what, we want to help you negotiate this thing. La République said, well, if you want to help us negotiate it within the one Cameroon context, go ahead, have your day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when he says that this match is going to determine who owns La République, that's not true. It's not going to happen that way.
Yeah, and we established in our last show how all of those tentacles played out.
Yes.
So we know all the connections. So if he is saying the Swiss are just a referee, we know that the Swiss had a vested interest in making sure that these things happen. So they are not the referee. There are no match commissioners, as you claim to say, but the referee that you call came and picked your team because they picked the people that they wanted to come and have a game with.
Yes.
And they knew what the results of that
the game
was
yes.
going to be.
But let me just to add that we know that it's not going to determine. Remember that I just want to add that we know that the results of Swiss are not going to determine who owns Ambazonia, because at Tanganji also, when the first Swiss meeting was holding, he was in that time he was on France 24 saying that that is not going to determine the nature of the state. So Mr. Bo Herbert is wrong there.
But if they announce that the way by which we will determine who owns Ambazonia is for us to go out there and face La République with our legal documentation around a table or around a football match, and that the winner will become the rightful owner of Ambazonia with sovereignty over it, and you decide that you don't want to play that game, it basically means you're taking yourself out of the equation. It means you're accepting defeat by forfeiture.
It was not only Bo Herbert that made commentary on the on this show. He also had other contributors who came saying a lot of things just to push that whole idea about how going to Switzerland is a good idea. Lambert Bong says, here's what Lambert Bong did, okay? Because he says that people were asking questions about that who gave them these people to go and do the mandate, who gave them the mandate to go and negotiate on our behalf, right? And so his thing was, he's asking a series of questions. Who gave the mandate to Gojidinka to sue La République in the High Court of Bamenda to win the case there? Who gave the mandate to the person who created first of all, the first national anthem, and then this last one, Hail, Hail. He asked a lot of questions about that. There have been a lot of things that have been accomplished in the struggle without anybody giving a mandate to anyone. So he even said, who has the right to, who gave the people questioning the mandate to question the mandate of others? What do you say? Who gave them the mandate?
Yeah, well, I think Mr. Mbom is erroneous on various fronts. Fon Gojidinka, as a citizen of Ambazonia, or the British Southern Cameroons, as he tried to put it, was suffered some losses as a result of the 1984 law that Mr. Biya promulgated. So as a citizen, he could go to court and sue La République. So he did not have he did not need a mandate from anybody. So that is what Mr. Lambert does not understand. The other thing is that Ngumne, Dr. Ngumne, whom he talks about,
Ngumne too,
was a member of an organization, SCAPO, and in collaboration with the SCNC. Those were organizations that there were a lot of us who were members of those organizations, and we contributed money from here to get Ngumne to go to Banjul and all those places and all the travels that they did. So those people were doing those things as members of an organization on behalf of the people of those organizations. Whether Mr. Lambert was a member of that organization or not, but I was a member of that organization, and I concord with what Ngumne was doing and the rest of SCAPO and the SCNC. So you cannot go there and begin to question who gave him a mandate. And he could do that as an individual because he had been wronged by the actions of La République and the United Nations. Then he also talks about the actions of the ADF and who gave them a mandate. these people were in we are in a revolution, and the Republic has declared war on our people. And anybody could pick up arms to go and defend his own community. You don't need a mandate from anybody to stand up and defend your people when the Republic is coming to burn down your house.
Yes.
It is like there is a fire on the house here, and the firefighters have to call City Hall to ask for permission to come out here and put out the fire.
Yes.
I don't know what kind of logic he is using. But there is something that he quoted Cardinal Newman, and he said, a man would do nothing if he waited for so long until he could do it so well no one could find fault with it. No, that is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that their precipitated actions to go to Geneva is a problem, because they did not even understand what they were walking into. If they really understood what they were walking into in going to Geneva, they will not be doing all this walk back and trying to explain in different ways and using analogies that don't even work. So we are not saying that they have to wait, or that there is an appointed time, but you have to know there is something that they call the right time. You have to know your timing, because in some of these things, timing is very important. And if you don't get your timing right, you might undercut yourself in negotiations.
Yes. Well, here's what I have to say, okay? I have to say that, and we can go all the way in our village.
Yeah.
That in the village, every citizen, every villager has a right to go and bring a good thing back home. You can go hunting and you catch a tiger, you bring it, you go to the chief. We already know that the chief would take the skin
and then call the rest of the village.
Yes, and share some of the meat. So every citizen has a right to go and bring something that's good for himself and for the village. But no one citizen has a right to go declare war against another village because
the whole village.
Because the impact of that decision is not only going to affect you, it would affect the whole village. It would affect, if you go and by yourself and declare a war against another village without authorization, and that war, that village now pack their arms and come, it will affect other citizens' lives and their properties. So there are certain things that citizens can on their own do it if it benefits the village, wonderful. Or if it fails, the impact is only on them, it doesn't affect the village. So Gojidinka goes and files a case. If he won that case, which he did, now Ambazonia can use the case and say, this is somebody who actually told our story, one of our citizens, and he won. If Gojidinka would have failed, Ambazonia would not fail because Ambazonia would remain where it is, right? The same with like you just said, the same with every citizen defending. Like the public troops start pounding on somebody's door and he takes his den gun and shoot a few of them or defend himself, he doesn't need to go and get permission. We don't have to agree as a village that person should defend himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if he defends himself successfully, wonderful. So I think this individual really needs to think through things, okay? I don't know how to say it again, but that we collectively can benefit our communities. But if there's something that you are going to go do single-handedly and it hurts all of us, obviously we'll come and say, no, you cannot be doing that. And that is why they talk about this Swiss deal. Because the facts of the case show that it's a bad deal. We are fighting to liberate ourselves. La République has cornered the Swiss, cornered lobbies, cornered Kawala. They come and pack LCLC, which Bo Herbert is a member of it. And so all this defense is in defense of the wrong thing. They went and did the wrong thing. But having said that, though, if they're strong head and go and somehow some miracle happens there, we'll take it.
We'll accept it.
Yeah, we'll accept it. But just like you said, there's time for everything. Sometimes you take a look at things and see whether common sense will say do it or don't do it. Our common sense in this situation says, one, is not a football match that you will win on the field and it will determine whether you get your country back. Second, we already know that La République is conniving, including the referee. All of them are conniving, so we should be part of that match. You remember, I don't know if you remember Epese. You know what I'm saying?
1979.
Yes. So we know about football matches that are predetermined before you go to play. that is one that we don't want to be part of. It seems like you had something to add, Pa.
No, I mean, you talked about the peso, so I said 1979.
Yes.
That, because you see, these are some of the things that our people need to understand. Because these people had decided that Peter Bamenda could never win that game.
Yes.
We could not be carry that trophy to the Southern Cameroons. So they blocked it. So you talked about the peso. Those are just some of those little things that maybe our people, we did not pay very good attention at that time, but it mattered to those people.
Even the peso deal was still fine because even if PW Bamenda knew that a peso was there, and they consider that, well, we're going to go play the national champion. When you play the national, you get so much money. Mm-hmm. They can still go and play and knowing that they will lose the game, but they will get the money. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And maybe build their team, and then next year they go and buy their own referee. But this one that these people are taking out to Geneva is worse. It's worse than what happened in Fumban, because Fumban was the same. They had the venue was predetermined. They've written the documents that would where we had absolutely no control over. They've written it, and they were just coming for the photo ops. You know what I'm saying?
See, when we keep saying these things, it really bothers me because there are so many versions of this story now that have come out. At some point they told us that it was a training session.
Yes.
Now they are telling us that it was just a game that using the football analogy, it was just being scheduling or trying to make preparations. So what is it now? We
don't know. And what was their role? The team that went there, who are they? Are they the owners of the game or of the team? Who are they to go and, you know what I'm saying? Pa, but I'm going to say something which, as we listen to this, we should be thinking about. Most of the defenses that are being put here by these people who went to meet the Swiss, they were coached, and this is part of the coaching that they were given. And I know that because I have spoken to some people who went there, and they told me about what they were telling them. One of the things they were telling them is that, and you see it here. One of the things they told them is that, well, you better accept this opportunity now because the world may forget about you and you will never get it again. So this is your opportunity. And then they brought some people come and testify that, we also had our own situation where we had our opportunity, we didn't take it, and right now nobody talks about our case. So what you will be hearing from Bo Herbert and some of the people who are trying to sell a bogus deal, that's what they were coached, and that's part of. So you're listening to what they were told, and you can see the holes.
Many of those who have stressed the importance of Ambazonia going to the negotiating table point to the fact that Ambazonia has a slam-dunk legal case to win against La République du Cameroun and its official godfather, France. One believer in the rock-solid nature of that case is our very own Tanyi Jude Agwaozugen.
All warriors know that the end game of every war is a negotiated settlement. Getting to the negotiating table is a matter of when, not if. A year and a half since being forced into war by colonial Cameroon, the people of Ambazonia are luckier than most other peoples to be at the verge of entering into negotiations with the aggressors and colonizer. It took both Eritrea and South Sudan 30 years to bring their colonizers, respectively Ethiopia and Sudan, to the negotiating table. Ambazonia can either wish for a protracted war spanning decades like the wars in Eritrea and South Sudan, or our people can seize the opportunity of negotiations coming much earlier than in other conflicts to nail the colonizer to the cross, secure freedom for our people and independence for our country.
This is directly from coaching from Geneva. I remember the person who told me about this kind of coaching, that you can take it now or you can go for 30 years and still come back to this. Give me your feedback on that.
Yeah, that is, nobody wants a protracted war. Nobody asks for war. Our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our children went out there with peace plans. The lawyers, the market women, the Okada boys, they went out there with peace plans, asking for a redress.
Mm-hmm. A very genuine.
Yes. And they brought war on them. We have been asking for these things for 57 years, and at every single turn our people get killed, we get maimed, we get shot at, we get raped, and all of these things. For one of us today to come out and tell us that we should accept what is being offered to us today, and they don't even know what it is, but we should accept it so that we can curb our losses. There is no good for a protracted war. No, what is it that you want us to accept? What is it? That we should stay in La Republique, or we should get out of La Republique? What is it? Because in all of your statements, you people said, oh, this is how you're going to go nail the colonizer on the cross and gain independence. How are you going to do that? Tell me how you are going to do that. If the United Nations knows, as some of them have said, that our case is straightforward and in a negotiated settlement, we will just nail La Republique, why has the United Nations not come ever since? Because they are the ones who were supposed to organize or come after 10 years to find out if this thing is working or not. They were not in Fumban. They have never come back. And Fojidika has said it, that agreement was never rectified.
In fact, there was no agreement.
Those terms of the
plebiscite.
The plebiscite.
Yes.
Because that is what we base La Republique. This other guy, what is his name? The former communication minister. He said that is what we went and signed in Resolution 1508. But Dinka clearly says it in what the plebiscite said.
Yes.
That
this is what we voted for.
Yes.
But we didn't get it.
And the United Nations never showed up.
Yes.
So are you telling us now that if the United Nations knows that they failed in doing their own part, you think they don't know? And it is in Switzerland that we'll just go sitting down on the table and tell them that, oh, sign here. What instruments do we have to force them to sign that signature in Switzerland and give that independence to our people?
And you look at this suggestion is not saying anything. It's just a scare tactic.
Yes, it is.
Just a scare tactic.
Yes, that if you don't accept this, they will crush it. Well, they have been killing us, and our people have been resisting.
Yes.
And people and Riba have said we will resist to the last man. So don't come and tell us that, oh, if you don't take this now, if that is what you people want, you have a right to do that. But don't tell our people that that is something that they have to accept because we don't want a protracted war. Yeah, Eritrea fought for 31 years, and they are free and independent people today.
And all of this is going on because, before they even went out, first of all, just going there is wrong, because I was going to say all of what they're going to Switzerland for should have been talked about in pre-negotiations before it even happened. You know what I'm saying?
But you are very, very right. You are very, very right. But they ignore some of those things and they just want to scare us.
Yeah, they just jump.
And another person that this Tanya Jude speaks like? Mundo.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Because this is the same things that Mundo said.
Yeah, that nobody will listen to you. There's so many problems around the world. Nobody's going to pay attention to you.
And who do you think asked Muzu to come and say? Because we have established all the connections. This is exactly what he said. He said it over and over. He said, if you guys really want something for yourselves, you have to be ready to go out and fight. And we are fighting.
Yes. All right, I'm going to read another one.
Republic du Cameroon will win this fight as they did in the 60s if we fail to come together as one people and do the right things that are required of us to gain our freedom.
This one is said by Mr. Agbor Terry.
No, Mr. Agbor, he is right in that the lack of unity between us is costing us.
Yes.
To me, what it does is it slows our progress. It doesn't stop our progress.
Yes.
But him saying that, and I think somewhere there, he attributed the positions of Secretary Nagy as a direct result of our failure to unite.
Yes.
I think that is wrong. That is not true. Because Nagy, we said on this show last week that Nagy has a right to talk about our Cameroonianness and things like that he knows. Those are things that were in the past. We are talking about now. I want him, Nagy, to go to any parts of Kimbong or go to Pini and ask those people about their Cameroonianness that he was describing at the Senate floor. So Agbor is wrong in saying that what Nagy said or what the international community is trying to do is as a result of our failure to unite, he is wrong.
No, he is.
Unity is important because it accelerates the pace at which we move. But what these people are doing, the fact that they have ignored us for all these years and up till now, is not as a result of the fact that we are not united. It is a deliberate tactic that France is going around pushing the buttons around and making these countries to sit quiet. But some people are not sitting quiet now, in spite of that disunity that exists amongst us and the different factions operating. And sometimes that disunity is important because there were some people who were advocating that, or who said erroneously that Karen Bass was trying to, or the Salai law firm was going out there lobbying Karen Bass that some sanctions be put on the leaders of the revolution. Who are they going to put sanctions on? Because the revolution probably it has no leader. It is like what is it? An octopus with different heads. You block this head this way, it turns and it's going this way. It develops another head. So our disunity has its advantage and it has its disadvantages.
Yes.
It has its advantage in that if this side is not doing well, the other side is doing well.
Yes.
And the only disadvantage is that it slows the pace with which we want to move.
Yes, and it slows the pace more on our own efforts.
Yes.
Because nothing prevents the international community to make their offer. One of the things that we are united on, even though we are different factions, is that we want our independence.
Yes.
Any country who brings our independence, they'll find all of us lined up.
Yes.
Okay? Or anybody...
faction.
What I'm saying is that we are disunited in terms of that we are not one group. And to be honest with you, there's no struggle where there's been one group. Even in South Africa, we had ANC, then we had the Nkata movement, then we had some other subgroups, so there has never been one. So anybody who comes saying that, oh, we can help you because you're not united, that's a lie. That's a liar.
Yeah.
Okay?
And to add to that, the international conspiracy or the laws or the agreements that United Nations put forward to encourage us to vote for that plebiscite, those things don't need to be they don't need our unity.
They don't need us anymore.
No, wait, because he is talking about unity, right?
Yes.
Those things that we were told that we were joining La Republique and we're going to be two separate states.
Yes.
It is in that.
And that there were only 8 items that were supposed to that is supposed to be legislated federally. Otherwise, all our legislation was within us. We were governing ourselves.
Yes. So that's
what our people voted for.
That is not questionable.
It's not questionable.
Okay. The fact that United Nations was supposed to come and it did not come, that is not questionable. These things don't depend on our unity.
No.
These are all agreements that the United Nations and international community put in front of us that our forebears voted for.
Yes.
They did not depend on our unity and they don't depend on our unity today.
Yes.
So the international community can go back and pick up those things that they did not do and do those things and give us our independence irrespective of whether we are united or not, because those things are there, they are written, they are in the United Nations archives.
There's a thing that you say which I want to go back to. And what you said was that our disunity has its advantages.
Yeah, it has.
And I can tell you one of the advantages. You know, and I'm going to tell the story. I just spoke with someone last night who told me that he went home and at one of the cross points, one of the checkpoints by Amber Boys, he was stopped and when they saw his passport, they were trying to harass him. They took his passport and they were trying to harass him. And one of the Amber Boys came and said, no, we are being supported by the diaspora. This guy's from the diaspora, because the man argued his case that he's from the diaspora, he's part of this struggle, and so they gave his passport back. So when he was complaining, he said, what do we do about these Amber Boys who did something like that? So I told him, I said, you know, the reason why they're acting like is because we don't have a national coordinated force or coordination that can manage all of them and put them under one troop. So they are in different groups. I said, in those different groups, yes, there's still the level-headed there who would look at him and they made the right decision. They stopped him, but they ended up making the right decision by letting him go. But I told him that these groups that are broken or is part of our strength. You see, La Republique, but the day that La Republique cannot contain all of these groups. Because every time we've come up with a national leader, they come and capture and throw in jail. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to do, they think that they're cutting off the head of our leadership, and so that we shouldn't be coordinated and therefore be stronger. But what they've done, like you said, we've created many Hydra heads, and you will have to cut all of them. But there's one, all of them are united on the fact that give us our land back, and we can all line up for that. So there's a positive to our dividedness, and at this time when they are preventing us, do you know that we have an arms embargo everywhere? Even our neighbor Nigeria. By the way, do you hear this? This is a small piece of news that La Republique held a security meeting with the Nigerians, and La Republique wanted Nigeria to treat us the same as they're treating Boko Haram, and Nigeria said hell no. Did you hear that?
La Republique is desperate, and they will ask for anything that will help them. But there are things that some countries, even though they are not supporting us, will not do, and I think that is one of them.
And I'm even thinking, finish your statement.
And we have to keep pressing on. We have to encourage them and get the right attitude to our people, because if anything that we have that nobody can take from us, it is our resolve.
Yes.
And messages like this, saying that we should accept a negotiated settlement no matter the cost, it undermines that resolve that we have. It doesn't help that resolve. And I hope, was it Mr. Tani Jude?
It's Mr.
Tani Jude.
Yes.
That it is important that we think about how some of these things impact the resolve that our people are showing for all these years.
No, Mr. Abo Terry. Let me see if I have another. Waiting for a perfect moment to give a perfect response to a perfect audience is exactly the opposite of negotiations. This is by Mr. Albert Nze. Do you remember what his this is like the highlight? Do you remember what his argument was?
Well, he was saying that negotiations can put an end to a senseless war. There is no perfect time for negotiation. There is no perfect negotiator, but it's a platform. It's not a compromise. It's a place just for people to state their positions, and it is not a legal path nor a political strategy, but an expression of ethical values on which the political and the legal strategy can be based. According to him, it's a sign of strength and good intent, especially to the negotiator and the wishing and the willing participant. Ambazonians have the burden of setting the agenda, not the negotiator. Well, there are two. The first thing is that I think what Mr. Nze did not really bother to just visit the Oxford Dictionary and find out what the definition of a negotiation is.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I will read it to him.
Yes.
A negotiation is a mutual discussion and agreement of the terms of a negotiation or agreement. Yeah? Discussing an arrangement of the terms of the negotiation or agreement.
Yes.
So he cannot come and tell us that it is not this, it is not putting an end, because if the goal of the negotiation is to put an end to war, right? So that's what it is. You go and negotiate how that war is going to come to an end.
Yes.
So is it that La Republique is going to withdraw its forces from our territory? That is what the negotiation is.
Yes.
But it seems to me that he was a little bit confused with what he was trying to say. And the most thing that bothers me a lot is that he said Ambazonia have the burden of setting the agenda.
How come?
That is, to me, I have a question mark on that.
And you know that is it.
He might have a point. You can cite, at this point, who is setting the agenda for the negotiation?
It's La Republique.
Exactly.
La
Why?
Republique.
Because they have an upper hand.
Yes, they are a government. They sit at the UN. They have political political diplomacy that they can do. They have our resources where they can give the Swiss.
No, don't even go that you are looking at it too broad. Let us just narrow it down to this particular instance. Okay? A businessman in Switzerland gets up, goes to Yaoundé, calls the Swiss ambassador and tell him, this is how my business is being impacted by this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The Swiss ambassador goes and meets the La Republique guy and tells the La Republique guy, hey, I have a guy.
One of my citizens' business is struggling in your country.
And he says, hey, if you can take care of this, take care of that, go ahead and do it.
Yes.
The guy says, okay, I'm going to see what I'm going to do. He sends out Kawala, sends out Fontem. They come to the United States. They bring in Sako. They bring in Bo Herbert. They bring in the other people, the John Ba Akoro. They form SCLC. And then from there, they go back to Switzerland. Who is setting those terms?
It's not us. Definitely not us.
I don't know how he says Ambazonia have the burden of setting the agenda. How do you set the agenda?
We don't.
When somebody just called you, paid for your flight, paid for your hotel, and you got on the plane and you went there. So the person will say, hey, I just paid for you to get there. You want to tell me what's going to happen in this one? And then they told you it was training. They were going to come and train you how to negotiate. So
no, they were training them why they should negotiate.
So
not why.
Yeah. So these things that they said, it's kind of confusing, and that is why we thought that it is important for us to look at this show, because we consider these people as putting information out there that our people need to understand, and we thought it wise to take a look at it and bring our own perspective on how we see it.
Yes.
So that our people can then look at both situations and say, wait a minute, or well, you guys at Extreme TV, you don't have a point. I think these guys have a point. But it is important that we bring this in context.
Yes, and what this gentleman forgets is that by the time this thing went to the Swiss, or by the time they brought in the Kawalas and the Nebanfontaines, they had gone to Siseko in jail, because they know those were the ultimate leaders who we had a legal process by which we elected them. They have gone to them and they have said these are the conditions by which we'll negotiate. And they realize that is what real people do. Real people who have their properties damaged, their fellow citizens killed. Because it's not this. See, Mr. Boherbe may think it's a football match. No, it's a war. It's a war. Because in a football match, you play and you go home, win or lose. What is happening in our territory is that people are being murdered, people are being forced to leave their homes. And so when they went to Siseko and his team in jail, you remember you explained that they took them away for 2 weeks. I'm sure they threw them the red carpet, gave them all the kind of goodies that they can give them. They say, no, here is how we are going to organize this thing. These are the conditions before we get into any negotiations. And so what they did was, then they now cook with the Sakos to start destroying and legitimize them. So by the time you go to Geneva, you should know what is happening. You should know the background, and that's where you should stop. Unless you think that, I think last week we read the conditions that Siseko put out, and those are conditions which, until those anybody who does not meet those conditions, they're not serious about negotiation, and we have no business being there.
No, they don't even understand what negotiations are. They don't even understand what negotiations are, because of what Siseko and the rest put out, you can hear other people saying that, we want negotiations without preconditions, right? Because of the position of those people. And if you insist on your position, then the other party is going to give in. You cannot just throw your hands up and say, well, if we don't take this now, maybe the opportunity will never come again. No, you have to impose your will. The international community have ignored us for all these years. They have only started talking about us now because of the resolve of our people on ground zero, and those of us in the diaspora here who have been supporting them to get where they are going. So they are talking about us now. Whether they like it or not, they are going to accept those conditions that we have given. That before we sit down to talk anywhere, the first thing is that they should release our people. The people that they went around kicking people's doors down, arresting people, killing some, and carrying them to La Republique for no cause. let them release those people, because those people too have a right to participate in these discussions. I don't want to be able to make decisions for those people who are locked up. There should be an avenue for us to be able to travel home and meet with our people and sit with our people and sit with our families and talk with them about what they have gone through and what is the way forward. That is what Fominyin said in his interview,
yes,
that we referenced last week.
Yes.
Those things have to, if you really want to solve this problem, that is where you start to create confidence that yes, there is a serious partner on the other side that really wants a solution to the problem. You don't come with some window dressing and then say you are rushing to Switzerland for an arranged football game.
Yes, and then come and be putting bogus arguments here. You know, I was smiling because you and I went and talked about who started this thing. You know, you just took it out of my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because immediately he said, I was thinking, no, they are talking about us now because we have decided that you will talk about us now. We look at it. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, it doesn't matter how big you are. Small jiga will enter for your foot until you deal with that jiga, your big self and your wade will not work. So we are the jiga. So when people say we are powerless, don't buy it. Don't buy it. We are rattling La République. We are rattling all these people internationally because we are part of humanity and we are hurting. And until we decide that we are not hurting anymore, there should be no peace. And let nobody come and frighten you that, oh, if you don't do it now, then you will never have the chance again. No, they're talking now because we wanted. For 57 years, they thought we've been dead and buried. La République thought they had their men of steel and their iron and their Biya, and that when they can will fall. No, it's been going 2.5 years, and we can go like this for 10 years. And I can tell you that the more we wait, time is not time. We have all the time. We have all the time. And for each person that they come and kill, it doesn't help La République. It doesn't help them.
No, it doesn't.
So I haven't talked about that. And haven't talked about this negotiation thing. Every single international body organization that goes down there talks about negotiations. We know what La République thinks about negotiations. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying this because Karen Bass just came from the territory. Mm-hmm. And that was her answer. And I'm beginning to think, do these people even want to be part of this conversation? I mean, for how many years have they been talking about negotiation? Can we initiate negotiations?
No, and they have to say it. You can't blame them for saying it. They have to say it because even the First World War ended with the Germans negotiating to give up their territory, and that is why we have this problem today, right? So you can't blame them for talking about negotiations. The problem is that what they are not doing is holding La République to make sure that La République organizes or La République allows those the United States or whoever is volunteering to be partner to see these negotiations happen. La République is not creating the atmosphere for those negotiations to happen, and that is what Mr. Fominyin talked about. They are not creating that. But
I don't want to go. Let's not talk about what La République is not doing. I'm talking about what the international community is not doing. The international community, just like we've talked about them giving us two alternatives with conditions that were all written down. They wrote to us that if you vote to join La République, you have 2 states. You only have these 8 items to share. Otherwise, you keep your money, you keep your government, you keep your economy, you run everything else except national defense, telecommunication, and a few others that I don't remember here. And they failed. International law says there are human right violations which, if you violate, you lose your sovereignty. And I was hearing that the threshold number to cross is 500,000 displaced people. We have passed that a long time ago. They've burned over 200 and something villages. They've murdered people left and we've reported them. And the international community has refused to apply the law. That is what they've refused. It's not their role is not to come and tell La République, oh, negotiate with them. No, their role is now to let the laws kick. It's the same as in Rwanda, they allowed close to 1 million people massacred, and they would not say genocide. Now they can run the word genocide left and right with Rwanda. So there's a neglect. There's a double standard going on, and I think we should be emphasizing on that. So the Congressional Black Caucus going down there and coming back and say, oh, the two sides should get together. That they could have just as well not gone down there.
No, well, it's not the Congressional Black Caucus. It's the head of the Congressional Black Caucus, along with other members of Congress, like Mr. Kind. What you just said, what I said, but in another words. What I said was, what the international community has an obligation to do is to force La République to do the things that you just described.
No, they need to come in, but they need to. I don't know. Let me see this though.
Listen, whether they are coming in, but they have to do something. They cannot be asking us to go and negotiate with the person who is persecuting us.
Yes.
They have to. That is what I'm saying. They have a responsibility to follow those international norms that we just described. If they don't want to do that, they can sanction La République and tell La République, hey, you have. The United Nations have sent. They wanted to send fact-finding missions in there. La République blocked it. They didn't do anything. This organization will try. La République will block it. They don't do anything. These Karen Bass, Sessenbringer, Representative Kind, and the others went down there. They were blocked in Yaoundé. They didn't do anything about it. So these things cannot be happening.
So are we left in the mercy? We are in the hands of La République to decide what happens?
No, well, we are.
There's no international law.
What we are saying is that these people have to do the things that you have described. They cannot come and sit here and tell us that let us do everything possible for this thing to happen. No, it's not going to happen. You have to do what you are obliged by international law and international norms to do. It is not up to us. We were sitting home, our people were sitting home, and they came out and they said, this is what is bothering us. And as usual, every single time, this government sent its troops, they went out and killed our people. And as usual, the international community was silent. They were silent. They said La République can do as it wants. Until we said we have had enough of this thing, our boys said we've had enough of this thing, we're not going to take it anymore. Then you come here now and you're telling us, let us just negotiate without preconditions.
Let me add something. The reason why they're dragging their feet is because the influence of France is there. When the interest of France was being challenged in Cote d'Ivoire by the Ivorians, they labeled Gbagbo clinging to power. Within a few years, they brought in the UN, which they turned into French armies, and they kicked out Gbagbo. So we know the game the international community is playing, and they really need to stop playing it, because we need to call it out. You know what I'm saying? We need to call it out that they are protecting the interests of France. They are not. I don't believe that France can stop all this, but we are going to continue, because you know what? At some point, just like in South Africa, the people in America, I'm going to talk about the United States, the people in the United States decided that it doesn't matter what Ronald Reagan said, South Africa will end, and it ended. So we just need to double our effort and bypass the governments, go to the citizens. The citizens are going to make their governments work, because they actually have a government that represents their people. In La République, the government represents France, and so they can murder all of us. They can murder all the population in La République. In fact, they murder. I'm not only saying Ambazonia. They can murder all the people in Ambazonia and the people in La République, and France will even be better off, because they don't even have to do anything to come and get the resources that they get. That is the extreme of what it is. Because Paul Biya has been there for I'm stopped counting, but it's because he's serving the interests of the West very well. That's why he's there. So let's not be playing these games. If they want to go down there and actually solve something, they should. But don't come. The woman, the head of the UN Human Rights went down there. I even started accusing the Ambazonians for burning their own villages, when BBC has produced documents showing how it is these neo-colonial French troops that go and burn villages. So let's stop deceiving our people. But like Biya said, until we are all killed, we will not stop resisting. I think at some point we should call it the way it is.
No, we have to call it the way it is and remind all the international players and people like Karen Bass and Sessenberger and Ron Kine and all those people who have shown a real interest in our struggle. Because somebody like Ron Kine comes from a different angle. And they have said this is their first time, but it will not be their last time going down there. What we have to remind them, because they said it is on both sides. Okay? That is my problem. That both sides. They forget to know that when we went out with the peace plans that you have described and others have described, the Republic came out with guns.
These guns are given to them by France, by the United States, by the they buy guns everywhere. They sell them to them. For us, they've even blocked the border. You know, if La Republic had its way, they'll block the border so that people shouldn't even escape into Nigeria. Yes, and now they come and say I mean, what kind of it's like let me you know, sometimes you have to come to the West to get to know how the West behaves, okay? In the West, technically they have decided that a white person can discriminate a minority. You know what I'm saying? But a minority cannot really discriminate a white person, because racism, they've incorporated that racism is racism if you can discriminate somebody and actually inflict a pain on them. If you can just say, I don't like this person, I cannot inflict any pain, it's not racism. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we may be fighting back, and we're fighting back with sticks and stones, but you cannot come and say that you cannot come and, I think we've already argued in several shows. You cannot come and say that, oh, it's violence on both sides. That is a curb out. That is a curb out. You better not saying anything about struggle and just leave us know that there's no help or that there's no international anything that we should be depending on. But you should also always remember that when the West did not intervene in our land, there's no way Paul Biya can come from a wonderland and come and take the life or the property of a barefoot man. I can tell you that, and he would know that.
I think
it's the international community that came and empower him to be doing this thing, and then right now they say, oh, we have no control over him, so please stop the war, negotiate with him. For 2.5 years you've been saying the same thing and nothing has changed. I can tell you what, in any corporation here, any CEO who behaves the way Paul Biya is behaving, he will not still have that job. And Paul Biya is your corporate servant. And you've allowed him, you've armed him to the teeth, and you allow him to kill our people. When there's a bogus offer out there by him to play you and give cover for everybody, then you see, when Bo Herbert says the US, the UN, the EU, and the other ones that he mentioned, that they're commissioners, is because those are people who came out and they're like, yeah, I hope everybody joins Switzerland with the deal. And they know that's a bogus deal. But they're looking for cover so that they don't do anything.
No, but he is saying that after the fact. But let's stick with Karen Bass, because there are things that I hope that she understands. One of the things that she talked about was the fact that the people in the Northwest and the Southwest, as she puts it, don't accept the aid from the government because they are afraid of the separatists.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's not true.
But that is what she was told in Yaoundé.
These are people. Look, let me tell Madame Karen Bass that La Republique goes and burns crop. You know, our people have plenty of food. They save food for every season. La Republique send their troops. They go and bring these troops from where they store them, burn them. They burn them.
Now, so man to a backside. You see the way they move the thing, them boss and the one day no born fine. You see
They go into the field, they burn crops that have been farmed for the next season. So they're trying to starve us off our land. They go and kill live animals that are people use for food and to make money.
So when they become, the first way they become, the first one way they become where they for Carrefour a place where they go manage for life today. When they become, at the cook chop seller. So maybe even also they become one just see motor just stand. So people then so one they be wrong. So one they maybe feel wrong because they maybe people they inside house. They maybe feel wrong because they maybe no say something will happen. So they become meat up palm, they beat the one the way they reach meat up palm, they throw me chop, broke my cooler then, broke my pan then we run now. That store the way they open, they enter inside, they thief them very well. Then thief mix, take kerosene, turn inside rice so people that they sell them, then turn thing them, yama thing them. Then that one the Boko go. As the Boko go now, we can now go house with the fear we get them. So no fit sleep for us, we don't know the one we go come for night.
So these people are out to destroy us. If you're pretending that you're not seeing, then that information is flooded anywhere. And if you want, just call one of us and we'll provide you with all that evidence. So no, our people can farm. Our people have never begged. In fact, our people know that they don't trust the food that the public is being. Because if somebody kills your 4 months old, are you going to take something from them and eat? Would you even want to meet them to take something from them and eat? I mean, look, we're also humans, exactly as human as you are.
So the problem, and I think one of our citizens articulated it very well in an audio. There was a lady that called from Douala doing a census or whatever they were doing from the World Food Program. That's what it was.
I remember that call.
Yes, and the guy told the lady exactly that, let me tell you, we don't need food. That's what he said. We don't need food. Our people don't need food. I don't know if these people, they listen at all. And that is something that Madam Karen Bass needs to know. We don't need food. We don't need your food. We are self-sufficient. Our people are self-sufficient. Ask La Republique to pull out of our land today, and the next day, see what will happen in that place.
Well, I was going to say that we are the people providing food to La Republique, which is just what you said. We provide food to La Republique, we provide food to Gabon, we provide food to the whole of that sub-region, Ambazonia.
So we don't need your food. We have food. And for the past how many years, we have been surviving. We don't need your food. We need you to ask La Republique and its soldiers to leave our territory, and we will be self-sufficient. So we don't need you to bring any food or bring anything to us. And that gentleman clearly said it. I don't know if it reached you, but we'll try to get it to you. So you should understand that we don't need food, any food item. We need an end to the occupation by La Republique. That's all we need.
I just want to add that let's put in perspective what the mind of the Ambazonian is so that the international community can understand that. After slavery, there was colonization. That colonization for us continues till today. We have suffered colonization from the Germans, from the British, and from the French. In fact, what the French are frustrated about is that for 50-something years, they haven't turned us into French stooges. That's their biggest frustration. That's the reason why they wanted to start educating our children right from the stomach. But even that, they will not succeed. So we have never been able to govern ourselves. We have either been governed by the British using Nigerians to come and steal from our land, or the French using the citizens of La Republique to come and steal from our land. It is interesting to know that immediately when the British pulled out, the citizens of La Republique came in. The first thing they did was they stole equipment from our territory. They stole all our land grading, all our road grading equipment. They stole it right across the border. Then they went to our technical schools and stole all the heavy equipment. They went to Ombe, stole all the big heavy equipment, downgraded the school. So we have been a colony of colonies. We've been a colony of Nigeria, which was a colony of Britain. We are now a colony of La République du Cameroon, which is a colony of France. We are tired. And this is the last stand we have taken, that you either kill all of us and take our land, or we are finally going to get our freedom like everybody else has had their freedom. We were never created by God to come and be the farmland of our neighbors, or our resources available to everybody else but not us. we have decided that this last revolt is it. And so this message does not only go to the international community, it should also go to Bo Herbert and his surrogates who have already sold a lot of their own humanity and are now ready to placate the next but another worse Fumban on us. It's not going to happen. But there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm reflecting something that I also read from somebody who said that part of the reason why the international community keeps saying that, let's let them negotiate and then bring peace back to Cameroon, is that they don't understand our history, because somehow they think that these problems only started from 2016, from the teachers and the lawyers strike. Can you help explain so that even good people that Ron Klein, I listened to Ron Klein's press conference, and he said the same thing, so that we bring peace back to Cameroon. No, we are not looking for. We want peace in Cameroon as our neighbor, but they can only be our neighbor. Now we can never be their citizen again, because if America or Ron Klein or anybody else were an Ambazonian, they will not accept. They will not accept. So nobody should be recommending to us what they will not have for themselves and their families and their children. Explain, Pa, why it is and why our case did not start from 2016, and why it is not fair for anybody to say that we should remain part of La République du Cameroun.
No, I think we have done a wonderful job explaining that. I don't think that there are individuals like Ron Klein and Karen Bass and all the other people that we are trying to reach out to. There are individuals that might not understand our case. But the countries and the institutions like the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, all of these institutions who are world players, they understand our problem. They know the problem did not start today. The problem is that we are now recruiting individual citizens and representatives like Karen Bass and Sensenberger and Ron Klein to come out and put pressure on these institutions and their various countries to go and address the root problems or the root causes of this problem.
Okay, having said that, let me ask you, do you know why people are fighting a certain resolution going through Congress right now where we are defined as being part of La République du Cameroun?
Well,
are you aware of that particular debate going on?
I am aware of the particular debate going on. And what I'm going to, since you've asked me that, I am going to say this. In that resolution condemns La République for the actions and what La République has been doing. I believe in the process. Whether people understand how the process works or not, or people want some legislator in the United States to go and legislate our independence in the United States Congress, that is not going to happen. So anybody can take whatever approach. I believe in the process, and the process is what? It is educating and winning over people so that they understand how to articulate our issues. We have this group mentality, this group thinking. Somebody puts out something there and people just pick it up and they start calling, and they don't even. I will give you a very good example. Mm-hmm. I was in a conference call with one gentleman, I think it was on Friday, and he was so mad and pissed. He was going to travel to California because the Karen Bass law firm had emailed the Salai law firm about a hearing that she was going to have on criminal reform and terrorism and all those kind of things. And I'm trying to tell this guy that this woman is holding a hearing about her constituency, California. And Sila law firm might be one of those constituents. It is not about the Ambazonian case. And people will not listen, because people think that every single thing that Karen Bass is doing now, it's all about putting us in a box. That kind of group thinking does not support and it does not help what we are doing. You have to live to fight another day. And you have to be able to contact these people and leave hoping that when you come back and knock at the door, they will open the door again for you to come in and have a conversation with them.
So you don't think that that the concern that the U.S. Congress is defining Ambazonia as part of La Republique now would undermine the independent efforts of Ambazonia?
It is not, because I just said it. The independence of Ambazonia is not going to be legislated in the U.S. Congress.
No, but when I listen to that, here's what I hear: that we'll have to fight La Republique, and if we need American help or their neutrality, we'll have to fight them again because their law says Ambazonia is part of La Republique. That's what these people are fighting.
No, let me explain this.
Yes.
And that resolution 358 that is going to Congress is not binding on anything. It is not law.
Okay.
It is just a statement. And people need to understand that. It is a statement that these congressional people are putting out, that this is what we think. It is, Karen Bass came, we just left from here, or we just discussed a while ago, what some of the things that she does not understand.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to always look at the big picture. This thing is incremental.
Let me say something here.
And this is the last I'm going to say on this.
Yes.
This guy, Patrice Ngangang, came out the other day on his video
Mm-hmm.
and said the word genocide has never been used in the same sentence with Cameroon. You are smiling now.
Yes, because genocide has happened there.
Okay, that word has never been used on the same sentence with Cameroon. Is it being used now? The Senator Durbin from Illinois, he was on the United States Senate floor doing exactly that. Do you know how long it has taken? Ron Kine talked about how one senator, every single day for 20 years, he went to the United States single floor trying to get the United States to ratify a law on
genocide.
On genocide for 20 years.
Yes. And it finally came through.
This thing is a process. I'm telling this story so that our people should understand. This thing that we think that everything has to happen overnight is killing us, and it's killing some of the partners that we want to work with. You and I might not be the one to finish this fight, but let us do our best so that when we hand over to the next people, they will easily continue from where we left off instead of going to start again from the bridges that we burnt in our effort to get what we want the next day.
Yeah, I would say that we're not trying to burn bridges. I think the people who are working with us, first is part of their job, and secondly, they should look at it as people who are losing relatives and crying out for help. But I think one of the reasons why they are very sensitive in this, remember that it was non-profit organizations that started writing, because of their own funding, they started writing that, oh, there's violence on both sides. It's non-profit organizations that started writing that now you see senators entering them as part of bills. That's what people are responding to, because they use these terms loosely. Before you notice, everybody picks it up and then start writing it before you see it starts making law. I think that's
Bro,
where the concern is coming from.
See, I think what we have to be honest to ourselves. There are certain things that we might not want to accept, but they are reality, and I will just leave it at that.
No, that's fine. So let's stay with Geneva for just one more moment. So Paul Biya visits his Continental Hotel like he always does. Do you know how long he was going to stay there this last time?
Well, I don't know how long. He normally goes for a year. I don't know how long he was going to stay, but
I think he was booted out in a week or so.
Less than a week.
Is that history or what? How does that affect the? By the way, when he was booted out, I know the news went all over, and I was watching his arrival in La République du Cameroun, and there were people lined up and cheering for him coming back, and I started asking questions around, like, Their man was just repatriated, and they should be sorry. And somebody told me that all those people lined up there were being paid, that they were paid. That he actually heard some of the people were saying, no, you have to give me up to 15,000 before you go work. Have you heard that the people welcoming Paul Biya at the airports are paid agents?
Yes, you asked if it is history, and I will say yes, it is history. Because I don't know where any head of state has been repatriated to his own country by any other country. So yes, that was history. And yeah, that is what happens in that place, because they want to always give that semblance that
everything is fine.
Everything is fine. So they'll go. I mean, people were asking. They were paying 2.5. So you have to give your name, your telephone number, and your identity card number for you to receive the money. So, but some people were saying 2,500 is not enough. I need 15,000. But and who did they go for? They go and the message clearly asks that they should go and look for people in the quarters. So those people who are hanging around, they don't have anything to do. They don't know where the next meal is going to come from. They need money for beer. Those are the people that they go for. So they call them, they give them 2,500. I mean, why should it surprise you? Have you not seen people with bread and sardine?
Yeah, to go and cast a vote.
Have you not seen people with fish and chicken being lined up on the ground and counted so people can come? So things like that should not surprise you.
Well, let me tell you why. Part of the frustration of Ambazonia, right, is that Ambazonia was a very well managed place. It was a place of hope. Dr. Carson Anyagwe was saying that in the 1960s, we have a development cooperation. I've forgotten what So we have a development cooperation, and there were development projects going on. So we were people trying to build ourselves and going somewhere. And then the UN takes us and then bury us into a French colonial empire, where the French has very carefully put thugs to run the place, keep it ungovernable, so that their interest is for it to be stable. And so you can see where our frustration is coming from. But when these international players go down to the territory, where do they end? They end talking to that thug.
No, they don't even talk to him. He wasn't even there. But you talked about the fact that we are a development people. I want to ask you this simple question. We have seen pictures from the north of Cameroon of people, children sitting in, you don't even call them huts.
Mm-hmm. In dust.
Learning.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that in any part of our territory?
Nope.
And what the government does is that they approve a school by decree. That's it.
Yes.
And we take over and we build it and we pay the teachers through PTA levies, Parent Teacher Association levies. That is who we are. So it is not that is how we were built. That is our mindset. So I just brought that example. So you should not be looking for an example in the 1960s, because it is there today.
Yeah. So we've come to the end of that. Now, please throw some light on why but you're saying that, I think you answered that question by saying that people who want to take the thing from 2016 know better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Pa?
No, well, when we come here, as we come to have these conversations with you all the time, we are trying to bring perspective into all the different sources of news or whatever is coming at you and what is happening in the international community. We hope that we do meet that standard in giving you a perspective that you can understand how everything is happening. We know there have been people who have been clamoring to be able to reach out to us for suggestions and things like that. We'll promise you that we are working on that. We'll get those things out, get phone numbers and communications, and even a website where you can join us and come share ideas, so that together we can build this project. This is a project we are working on to educate and empower our people, so that when the time comes, whether we are going to go and sit down here and decide how we want to manage these things, our people should know. We should be having these conversations in a broader level and getting everybody involved. We thank you for some of your suggestions. for some of your criticisms, and we look forward every time that we come here to be honest and truthful with you, to give you the things that will help you understand how to play your role, whatever that role is in this revolution.